Alain Vigneault, more like Alain Vigneault. So bad. Welcome to the Hockey Talk Show. I'm your host, Anthony. For everything about the show, go to hockeytalkshow.com. That's where you can get all the info on where to watch the show on Facebook and YouTube. Follow along on social, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and, of course, get the podcast at Stitcher, TuneIn, iTunes, and Podbean. Lots going on in the National Hockey League. It's kind of a crazy day, and happy Halloween to everybody out there. Not much of a Halloween costume, but when you have a face like this, there's no reason to go out and get a scary mask. So much happening, and we don't have a lot of time for the show today. Unfortunately, I got a lot of other obligations to be getting to with my other gig as morning show host here in New York. So we'll get right into it. Arizona finally wins a game. Congratulations to them. They beat the Flyers 4-3. I would not be surprised if Arizona went on to continue to have a mediocre to awful season. I also wouldn't be surprised if Arizona went on to win a whole bunch of games and started making some noise. I'm not calling them a Stanley Cup winning team. I'm not even calling them a playoff team. I'm just saying they're a team that has been playing far better than their record, and I wouldn't be shocked if they went on a little bit of a run right now. You know, get a win. If they can put two together, get some confidence about themselves, get that momentum going, they'll certainly be on their way. We talked a lot about confidence on the show lately. I really believe in momentum. Momentum is a big thing in hockey. Momentum exists in games, in periods, in road trips, in seasons. You know, momentum is a real thing that needs to be reckoned with. So good on Arizona. Let's see if they could string together a couple and start making the West a little bit more of an interesting division and conference than it is right now. Let's talk about Montreal, because I want to get into this. And I feel like we've been talking about Montreal and the Rangers a whole bunch on this show. And, you know, I apologize to some of the other franchises we haven't really spent a ton of time on, like, you know, Dallas and Detroit. You know, Edmonton's got a bunch of issues now, and we're going to have to get into all that stuff as well. But we got to talk about Montreal, and we're going to get into the Rangers and Alain Vigneault and what's going on there as well. Montreal last night beat rival Ottawa in commanding fashion. I mean, they blew out 8 goals against the Ottawa Senators. That is not exactly a simple and easy thing to do by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, they looked great last night. There was resolve there. They were getting contributions from everybody, and I'm starting to notice a few really, really interesting things here with the Montreal Canadiens, and that's what I want to bring up to you guys, because as much as I talk about this team really being in a lot of trouble and really being in a dive, when you dig deeper on the Montreal Canadiens right now, you know, again, momentum, look out, man. They won 3 out of their last 4, you know, and they were playing that game last night with Al Montoya in net, not Carey Price. Ottawa scored 21 seconds into this game. If there was ever a reason or a way to just fold up and die, give up, that was it right there. 21 seconds in, you don't have Carey Price. Al Montoya lets one in. But then something happens. Charlie Hudon scores his first goal. And then Ottawa ties it up. And then I have to give credit to Max Pacioretty, because my man is the captain of this team, and he showed why he's the captain. You know, after them going down by 1, Hudon scores, gets his first of the league. Pacioretty gets pumped. He puts one in. Now they're up and leading, and, you know, it was a slugfest from there. And unfortunately for Ottawa, a lot of the slugging was coming from the Montreal side, because they put in 8 goals last night, and they looked pretty good in that win. Again, they've won 3 of 4, and here's another super interesting thing to point out. Galchenyuk scored 3 goals out of his last 4 games. So Montreal's won 3 of 4. Galchenyuk has scored in 3 of 4. When Galchenyuk is going, when they're all going, they're going to be an okay team. I don't know if they're as good as they should be or as good as they've been in the past. Again, their stock plummets if Carey Price goes down with injury and is gone for a long time. This is not a playoff team then. So a lot of things hinging on the Montreal Canadiens. I'm not going back on all the things I said that they are in trouble and they need dire help. I still believe that to be true. But I think that they have been playing better hockey in the last 4 or 5 games. And I think, again, if you look down at the evidence, that is a pretty true statement. You don't win 3 of 4 unless you're playing a little bit better hockey. Now, do I think they're out of the woods? No. But do I think that maybe that press conference the other day from Marc Bergevin helped them out a little bit? Says, I'm not making any moves. Those guys are going to have to figure it out in that room. Maybe it did help. Maybe they just got a spark from playing against the Ottawa Senators. Maybe that was part of their deal, and they're playing a rival, and maybe they got up for that game a little bit more. I don't really know, but they're 4-7. They're still third from the bottom in the East. They got a lot of work to do, but they got a foundation now. 3 out of 4. Can they keep it going? I don't know. We got to wait and see. But I'm just saying, these are one of those things you look for patterns. You take a look, you analyze. Try and really get into some of these teams here and give you some insight that you're not going to get anywhere else, or at least get it to you first. And, something could be brewing there in Montreal. Something really could be brewing there in Montreal. Now, we'll stay in Montreal, but we're going to go with the New York Rangers here. And this was pretty interesting. Have this article from the New York Post, and this is all on the Hockey Talk Show Facebook page. You can follow us at Hockey Talk Show on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram as well. Mark Stahl tells the Daily News that the Rangers' problems are not a coaching issue. Mark Stahl told the Daily News, it's not a coaching issue. It's everyone. Everyone needs to be better. We're 3-7-2. We've got to find a way to win games together. And if you're not going to do that together, you're not going to turn it around. So we're all on the same page in that regard of trying to turn this thing around. The messages are getting through to the players, Stahl says. Is it? Maybe. I don't think it's lost on anyone where we get when we get on the ice. I think it's just being in the right mental frame to have that intensity and emotion right at the start of the game. The X's and the O's stuff takes care of itself. There's the article right there. You can see if you're watching along on Facebook or YouTube from the Daily News today. Here's a couple of thoughts on this. He's right. It's definitely not Alain Vigneault's fault. It's not. It's the front office's fault. It's Jeff Gordon's fault. Jeff Gordon really just kind of took over the team, though. You got to give him a little time to build this team out and make them the team that he wants them to be. But this isn't a coaching issue. This is a player issue. And it falls on the front office for me because you just don't have the right players in the lineup right now. You got Pavel Buchnevich playing on the top line. Is he a top line winger? I don't know. He's got a hell of a lot to prove. He's not off to a bad start. 4 goals and 4 assists, 8 points in 12 games. That's pretty good. The problem with the Rangers is Rick Nash. And honestly, Henrik Lundqvist is not playing all that great. He's not playing at the level he normally does, which is why the Rangers are always so favored. And he steals them a lot of games. I told you, the biggest blunder I think most of the hockey talking heads made before the season, which I didn't do and I went against, is saying that the Rangers were going to be a big playoff team, because they're not. I really believe that still. It's a little bit tougher for me, too, coming from my background as with the Islanders, but just breaking down this team. Like I've said before, and I will say again, and I will continue to say until I'm Ranger blue in the face, you're in a situation here with the New York Rangers where you got the same damn player 4 times, 5 times repeated. Kevin Hayes, JT Miller, Jimmy Vesey, Jesper Fast. These guys are the same guys. If you took all the components that made up each one of these players, 80% of each one of these players is exactly the same. You can't have a team filled with all the same exact type of player. You got to have a mix. You got to be able to mix it up. I think the Rangers suffered from a lot of overachieving in their last couple of years, and great coaching from Alain Vigneault, and even better goaltending from Henrik Lundqvist. That being said, they've had a lot of overachieving. I think, when they went to the Stanley Cup final, that was a different team. That was a really different team. You had Marty St. Louis on that team. He was a really dynamic driving force. Marty St. Louis, remember, he lost his mom on that trip. Meant a lot to the team. He really carried that Ranger team. They really wanted to rally around him and do all those things. Rick Nash was a better player at the time. Your Chris Kreiders, all these guys, they were a little bit younger. They were a little bit more hungrier. Now, I just don't see it from them as much. I just don't see it. And if you can't get up for a game in the National Hockey League, especially when you're playing in the biggest city in North America, no coach on the planet should have to motivate you. Mika Zibanejad was a great pickup, by the way. 7 goals, 3 assists, 10 points in 12 games. Guys just looked outstanding. Ever since they got him, he just looked like he belonged as a Ranger. I mean, you really got to rally around Mika Zibanejad. Is he a top line center? No. But he might be. He's got no choice as of right now. But he might be proving me wrong with that statement. JT Miller, 2 goals and 8 assists. Kevin Shattenkirk, 2 goals and 7 assists. Ryan McDonough, just 5 assists. David Desharnais, who's a third line center at best, 2 goals, 4 assists. He was centering the second line last I saw. Now he's centering the third line, and Kevin Hayes is in there. They just need a center. They don't have it with the Rangers. They don't have they have a lot of the makings of a really great team. They just fall terribly short on forward. There's no dynamic lineup there. There's no, here's my, grinder. Here's my 30 goal scorer. Here's my 20 goal scorer on the third line. Here's my guy here's my playmaker. Here's my big tough centerman. They don't have any of those elements. They have 6 of the same guy, a tired old Rick Nash, and that's what they have. Not Zuccarello, who he's got 8 points in 12 games. He's not doing terrible. I know he was kind of shoved down the lineup a little bit. It looks like he's back up on the second line now. But look, they had Grabner last year who had an outstanding year, and he's Jekyll and Hyde. Everybody who's seen Michael Grabner knows that. When he's on and it's clicking and it's working, he's as good of a hockey player as most. I mean, he's a 30 goal scorer. It's unbelievable. But a lot of the times he can't be seen. Gets a breakaway, gets stopped. Can't close, can't finish. He had a great year for the Rangers. It definitely helped him out. If he doesn't have a good year, that's 25 goals you got to figure out and make up for. So there's a lot going on with the Rangers. And interestingly enough, and a lot of outlets are reporting this. Mainly it's coming from Chris Johnston, though. Chris Johnston is reporting that half the Ranger front office was at the Montreal Canadiens Ottawa Senator game last night. Glenn Sather, Jim Schoenfield, who's the assistant GM, Doug Riseborough, who's a consultant for the Rangers now, were all in Montreal to take in the game. If you're wondering why, most people are pointing to Alex Galchenyuk. In fact, even Larry Brooks over at the New York Post said just the same. Johnston cautions not to read too much into it. He suggests this could mean that the Rangers are looking for help after their terrible start to the season. Again, if the Rangers and the Montreal Canadiens traded their problems, would that help each team out? I just don't know, and Mark Bergevin doesn't seem to think so. Larry Brooks adds to this that they also, besides looking at Galchenyuk, could be looking at Andrew Shaw. Now, that piques my interest a bit. We heard these rumors that maybe the Blue Shirts were thinking about moving away. The Canadians were thinking about moving Shaw. I like Shaw. I'm a big fan. I know he's got a bigger contract, but look, that guy won. Guy's a winner. Guy was influential in the Chicago runs to the Cup. He's a tough player. He's honestly, he's kind of what the Rangers need. A dynamic, different player. The Rangers had Sean Avery and put up with it and dealt with it and made it work. Andrew Shaw, to me, is a better Sean Avery. He's got a little bit more of a better head on his shoulders. He's a better skater. He's a better scorer. He's better in every way, shape, or form. So if you can hang with Sean Avery, you can hang with Andrew Shaw. If Shaw's not working in Montreal, that might be the kind of thing where, all right, now here's two struggling teams that might be able to help each other. Because I do think that Shaw can boost the Rangers. I think Shaw and Galchenyuk together, if you could land both of them, now you're talking. But I don't like Galchenyuk all that much. And I don't know if he really helps the blue shirts out. But you never know. It's a chemistry thing. Maybe him with Zibanejad, something could pop there. I don't know. What I really don't know is what the hell are the Rangers going to offer the Canadians in return that's going to get them excited? Jesper Fast? I don't think so. Jimmy Vesey? Vastly underachieving so far this season. They're not going to trade Zuccarello. Nobody's taking on Nash's contract unless you swallow a majority of that salary. And again, if Rick Nash is in the lineup with Montreal, does he really help them there? Certainly not adding to any sort of speed. I just don't know what to think. But I do know that when you send like half of your front office staff to go scout a game, that means something of significance. You're bargain basement hunting right now. On the last show, I said, I don't know. All these teams, all these GMs seem to be unhappy. They're all dealing with underachieving players. I don't know if them swapping them around is going to help. I still don't know. And we won't know until a trade is done and you see how a new player acclimates into his new role. But I don't know, man. It's not that exciting until you throw Andrew Shaw into the mix for me, because I think he's the type of dynamic get up and go player that can spark an entire team, because he's the kind of guy like a Cal Clutterbuck, like, even not even a total enforcer, like a Matt Cullen. There's certain players that they're on all the time and they're going and they're Energizer bunnies. And if they're not scoring, they're passing. And if they're not passing, they're hitting. If they're not hitting, they're back checking. You know what I'm saying? They just will the rest of your guys into trying, especially when you get a guy like that and you got him on the third line. Your first and second line players go, well, if this guy can go, I better get my ass in gear, So, in a scenario where I'm kind of like, well, I don't know if these two losing, struggling squads are going to help each other. You start to introduce Andrew Shaw into the mix, and I'm like, that kind of could be the spark that the Rangers need. Now, I don't know if that automatically gets Jimmy Vesey to be scoring a lot more goals. In fact, I wouldn't even guarantee that he would not be in that deal or have to be in the deal to go the other way. But I do know that he makes the Rangers a tougher team to play against. And maybe it's a little bit of a spark and a little bit of a kick in the rear that he needs to get his game going. I think Andrew Shaw, especially coming out of Chicago, Montreal, these are big cities, big media hubs, big hockey interest. I think he can easily slide into the New York Ranger lineup and make something happen there. In fact, if I was a Ranger fan, I would get excited about Andrew Shaw and I would tweet and post, and that doesn't make a difference anyway, but I would try and sort of pick up that swell of, hey, this guy can come in and help us and maybe make something happen. As far as Galchenyuk goes, your guess is as good as mine. It's like walking in a minefield. He's either going to hit or he's not. And there's really no telling. We talked about some of the struggles he's had off ice. Former coaches talking about him having a drinking problem, possibly violating league rules. You can't really out a player for that kind of thing if he went to go and get help under the substance abuse guidelines of the league. I don't know. There's a lot of smoke. There's a lot of smoke there. Is there fire? I don't know. But if there is, who knows? A player like that could really be the difference for you. God knows he has a lot of talent and ability, but can you get him to use it every day? And you get him on a team where they're struggling to get up for games, as you heard Mark Stahl's comments there. I don't know if a guy like that really helps you. You don't want to bring in another player that needs to be motivated. That's not going to be good for everybody. Chris Johnson also talking about the Oilers, who say they are now willing to move Jussi Jokinen, who joined them in the offseason as a free agent. Jokinen has 1 assist in 9 games thus far. Johnson cite sources saying the Oilers sent a note to rival clubs to gauge interest in the 34-year-old. Look, for the Oilers, I want to touch on them quickly here. We heard this about UC Jokinen. We heard this about Anton Slepyshev now. Ryan Strome has been a no-show for them. I think the Edmonton Oilers are willing to trade everybody who's not wearing 97 on their back. I really believe that. I think the Edmonton Oilers are looking at this year going, holy cow, maybe we are not as good as we thought, and we're not making it happen here. Look, they're 3-6 right now. You're now in that Ranger Montreal territory of, things are a little rough right now. And do you have all the elements? Are you relying too much on Connor McDavid, to make something happen? Which, by the way, he's doing just fine. 5 goals, 6 assists, got 11 points in 10 games. He's playing good. Patrick Maroon, 4-4. I don't know if Maroon really is a line mate for Connor McDavid anymore. We saw this a lot with Sidney Crosby. They always just played Sidney Crosby with pretty much duds, except for Chris Kunitz, who I didn't think was a dud, but really helped him out. And, John Tavares, the same thing. You put your best player with 2 mediocre guys, and then suddenly the mediocre guys are doing well. It's the trickle down effect. They're doing well because they're playing with the best player on the team. I don't know if they're making the best player any better. According to dailyfaceoff.com, who just does a tremendous job at putting out the lineups, it looks like Maroon is up there, but they've brought Draisaitl back up to that top line. Which is interesting to me because I thought Milan Lucic was really brought in to help Connor McDavid out. We switched back and forth to the stats there, courtesy of NHL.com. Draisaitl, he's just fine. A little bit of an injury there, 1-6 in 6 games. Could use some more goals, but that's fine. Nugent Hopkins, 6 points in 10 games is okay. Milan Lucic, 1 goal, 4 games, subpar. Chris Russell, I like him a lot as a defenseman. Ryan Strome has been a no-show. Kailer Yamamoto, somebody will have to explain this to me. The guy has got no goals and 3 assists in 7 games. 3 assists are nice, but again, he's getting top-line minutes. He's getting top-line minutes. Is he worthy of that? Mark Letestu, to me, is a third-line player at best. Oscar Klefbom, you see there, Adam Larson. There's just not a ton of offense coming from Edmonton right now, and I'm pretty surprised because you have Connor McDavid, who should be opening up a lot of ice for a lot of players. But again, if Strome doesn't show, if Maroon doesn't contribute, if Kailer Yamamoto doesn't get up, if Milan Lucic isn't scoring a little bit more, hitting and getting it on the forecheck, if Nugent Hopkins isn't where he's supposed to be, you find yourself at 3-6-1. 10 games into the season, so a little bit of a struggle there. Somebody's going to crack and somebody's going to break between Edmonton, Montreal, the Rangers. Like I said yesterday, Detroit, if they continue to stumble. Buffalo is not happy. You saw the video of Jack Eichel snapping his stick when he got into the locker room. He is not happy. Buffalo should be performing a little bit better. Tough to say that, too. They got a first-year coach. They're trying to figure it all out, but Matty Molson was a 30-goal scorer. He's fading. That's unfortunate. Kyle Okposo is there. Jack Eichel is there. Reinhart. You got a lot of these guys who have all this potential and, again, just vastly underachieving. And a first-year coach, that doesn't make your $80 million man much happy. And you better make your star happy because if the star's not happy, a lot of bad things can start to affect all the other players. So a lot of interesting things today, including this. Before we go to the Golden Knights, oh my God, you don't want to be a goaltender on the Golden Knights. Oscar Dansk goes down last night in the game, and he was playing a great game. Isles Vegas was a great game last night. I watched the game. I was really impressed with it. I think the Islanders got a little bit lucky with Dansk leaving the game with an injury, but so far, Fleury, Subban, Dansk now is out. You got Maxim Legacy who's come in. He did not look good against the Islanders last night. Huge opportunity for the Rangers to get an easy 2 points here with a young goaltender in the mix. And what I found to be pretty interesting is there's an article this morning all about the Golden Knights not really panicking. Dan Rosen, who does a tremendous job, big fan of Dan Rosen over at NHL.com, says the Golden Knights are not panicking whatsoever as it comes to their goaltender situation. And that's pretty surprising to me because Subban is at least 2 or 3 weeks away. You know, Fleury has a concussion, so Lord knows when he's going to be back. By the way, Gerard Gallant said that. I don't know how much public knowledge that was before he said that, but that's what he said. And they've had to call up Dylan Ferguson from the Western Hockey League. He's 19 years old. It's an emergency basis call up. Oh, boy. So he's coming up now to back up Legacy. Legacy didn't look good against the Islanders. Let's see how he fares against the Rangers. But if you're the New York Rangers right now, half your front office is up in Montreal scouting the Canadiens. You know, Jeff Gorton is on the phone, I'm sure, working the phones, trying to figure something out. You know, got to get 2 points here tonight. You got to get 2 points against a young, soft goaltender. Now, look, maybe he didn't have time to prepare. Maybe the Islanders, who did skate really well, were just all over him. There was a couple of breakaways there. You know, he faced Tavares. He faced Cal Clutterbuck, who's got a great wrist shot. So maybe there was those couple of things thrown in the mix. But if you're the Golden Knights, I definitely think they're panicking more than they're letting on, especially in this article. Gerard Gallant spoke to Dan Rosen and a couple of the other guys. I think I forget who it was. I think there was another front office person, or maybe Kelly McCrimmon. That's right. McCrimmon went and spoke to Dan Rosen, going through everything, saying, you know, it is what it is. Look, Gerard Gallant says, hey, we're going to play the next guy, and that's it. And that's all fine. He's the coach. He's got no choice. But if you're McCrimmon, if you're, you know, George McPhee, you got to be on the phones. The thing is, who the hell is available? Like we said on our last show, the goalie market is awful right now. I mean, Antti Niemi was the prized possession, and Florida already scooped him up, and they'll hold on to him for a little while. So who else do you get? Who else do you get? If Subban is 2 to 3 weeks away, can you hold on for that long? You start losing 2-3 games. And if they start this road trip 0-3, now the pressure's on you. It's a really awful situation to be in because you also don't want to go out and acquire a goaltender that now you're stuck with. And then Subban comes back, and then Fleury comes back, and Dansk comes back, and now you got a fourth guy. You know, that's just an unfortunate situation. Maybe you will not be able to flip him on the other side. I mean, it's a tough thing for the Golden Knights that they're definitely going to have to figure out early on here in this season where they're having a great run. You know, they're having a really great run. All right, so a lot of quick topics to cover there. I really think we're speeding towards this 20-game mark. If Montreal can pull out of this and the Rangers don't, or vice versa, I think you're going to see a trade early on here. I just don't know for who. But the excitement of grabbing a Galchenyuk and a Shaw for the Rangers, I think, is worth the roll of the dice, even though I don't have 1,000% confidence in Alex Galchenyuk. He at least has a lot more upside to me than a JT Miller, Kevin Hayes, Jimmy Vesey. I'm sorry, Ranger fans, but he just does. You know, he can fail just the same, but so can those other guys. And like I said, you got a bunch of those other guys. That high-skilled winger like a Galchenyuk might be a possibility. I don't even think the Rangers need to worry about him down the middle like the Montreal Canadiens want him to be a centerman, and he's not. He may not be, and I don't think it's really even important for the Rangers because, yeah, the Rangers need a centerman, but I think they need a couple of wingers too. I think they're a little bit farther away as far as that goes. And if Henrik Lundqvist doesn't pull out of this funk and turn things around for himself, the Rangers are in for an awfully, awfully long year. And then you're really going to start to hear what I said first and got a lot of garbage for, which is that they should trade him. If his value goes down this year, and there goes your return right along with it. Hockey Talk Show on Facebook and YouTube. We stream the video live. We'll be doing that really soon, but the videos are playing live there. Of course, you could be in touch with us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Hockey Talk Show. on the podcast with iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, and Podbean. Rate and review those podcasts if you can. Loving the podcast numbers right now. A lot of people listening to the podcast, which is so awesome. So thank you guys for that. And hockeytalkshow.com has everything else. Fun to do this quick hit with you guys, and I'll see you on the next shift.